and welcome to another episode of Bond Never Dies. And we are now on James Bond's 5th mission, You Only Live Twice.
So in this one, there's a space race between America and Russia. The Americans have launched a space capsule. It gets captured. The Americans think the Russians did it. So there's a lot of tension. And then the Russians launch one, and it gets stolen also. We find out that number one from Spectre is actually capturing these ships and trying to cause the United States and Russia to fight. And that's the whole plot.
And I am your first agent on this podcast, Jeremy Evans, along with my second agent on the podcast, Travis Hanna. And let's begin our mission. So our first mission begins in space.
The final frontier.
And as we described in the basically the overall of this film is it starts out with the shuttle. The United States shuttle is in the air or in space basically, and all of a sudden it gets captured by a Russian. I want to say it's Russian.
Well, it's Spectre's ship. But they have painted it to look like it's from Russia.
Yes, I guess and going in right.
And we say Russia. Keep in mind, people. It's triple CP or USSR at this time because Cold War and whatnot. USSR hasn't collapsed yet. So, but yes, the Russians. It looks like the Russians are stolen. And
the way they decided to steal the shuttle was interesting because we have never seen a device that opens up like a mouth opening or like it feels like a little claw coming in and swallowing the whole ship. I never seen a ship just swallow another whole ship.
Right. So it's identical to like a regular space pod from that era, but the front nose just kind of opens up and has four like teeth that kind of spread apart, swallows the capsule and closes around it.
So what are your thoughts on that? Like, do you think that was pretty cool at the time, or that was a cool idea?
Well, considering that we're in America or in the world, really, we're entering space exploration. Like we haven't even landed on the moon at this point. We won't land on the moon until 1969.
And this particular mission happened in 1967.
Right. So I think it's exciting because it's playing on possibilities for future technologies. It's just really interesting. I enjoyed it, and it also shows that their budget has gotten considerably bigger
since Thunderball,
right?
Even Goldfinger,
right?
So, it's interesting because I just think I would never think of like their imagination would go that far of how do we kidnap a ship in space, right? So why not swallow it, I guess, and leave it to Spectre. They're the people from the very beginning of Dr. No. Going all the way from Russia with Love to Thunderball, we see that the Spectre's organization are coming with weird contraptions. We've seen that from stealing a plane. We've seen that from a factory that can I'm trying to remember in Dr. No where they were doing something in that factory. I forgot. Well, I'll have to go back and look at that later, or listen to our first episode. And so we go straight into Japan, or actually it was China. Actually, I apologize. It was China, and where Bond is, of course, being Bond, relaxing with a beautiful woman, and all of a sudden it was basically a trap, and that led the bed kind of springing back. So imagine a hotel, and and some hotels probably to this day still have those beds you can just pull out from the wall, and that's how the bed was.
A Murphy bed.
Yeah, Murphy bed, and so. What happened is she jumped out. The bed reflect on some I want to say some bad guys basically.
Right. So the bed swallows Bond, and these guys come in with machine guns and shoot up the bed.
And he was pronounced dead.
Right.
And
that leads right into the opening theme.
And so the opening scene is quite interesting because the song is very, very pleasant.
Yeah, it's mellow.
It's very mellow. I think about maybe 30 seconds in, the song feels a little boring.
Yeah.
I wasn't really feeling it.
I think it's playing on the fact that we're to believe that Bond is dead.
So you feel like the song is supposed to be a sorrow, sad kind of song.
Right, but at the same time kind of hopeful because you only live twice.
Right.
Like it's hint, hint, nudge, nudge. There's no way we're going to kill our guy at the beginning of the movie.
Right. And then actually this is interesting too because since Goldfinger you can see they're kind of straying away from showing you a little bit of a preview of what you're seeing in the movie. So now they're going more of women really orchestrating the story of with their bodies of what's going on ish, I guess. It's really interesting how they did it, but maybe I'm reading too much into that.
It was just a somber song. I didn't really enjoy it all that much. I mean, it was good. I didn't hate it, but I mean, I don't think it's really anything spectacular.
But he's not dead. So basically, there was a funeral at a Navy ship, and go ahead and talk a little bit about that.
So after the intro, there's a funeral happening on a Navy ship, like you said, and they're depositing Bond's body in a body bag overboard into the ocean, and scuba divers collect the body bag, take it to a submarine, and they all enter into the torpedo tube. And when they pull the body out, they unzip the bag, and Bond has an air mask on, and he's dressed in Navy attire. And M is on the submarine, and Moneypenny's on the submarine. So it was a huge elaborate ploy to make it look like Bond had died on a mission.
So what's the story behind it though? Like, yeah, we go straight to this, but not anything in between talking about like did Bond have a maybe a bulletproof vest, or maybe he recovered and then they said, let's go ahead and fake the death. Still, like, they never really explained that.
The whole thing was a setup to fake Bond's death.
Even the part where he got shot up in the bed.
Yeah, it was all a setup.
Okay. So he must have had a bulletproof vest.
Well, no. I don't know. He could have.
Maybe it was 008.
They could have used squibs on the mattress. Who knows?
Okay.
The whole thing though was Spectre is on his case. They want to have the element of surprise.
Okay.
And so they set up this whole ploy to make it look like Bond died.
So do you think this whole ceremony was a little bit over the top just to get Bond down to the submarine and whatnot, and then right when his mission's about to start, they just blew him through a missile?
I think it's funny that he had a mission to die, and then as soon as that mission was over, he's literally on another mission.
Where's some sleeping time for this guy? You know what I mean?
Well, he had it when he died. He was sleeping with that chick, and then he'll get some. He'll get some later. You know.
Mm-hmm. No, that's true. So after his meeting, his goal is to basically infiltrate and meet a woman at a sumo event.
Well, he's not supposed to meet her. He's supposed to meet Mr. Henderson.
That's right.
And she shows up.
That's right. So let me retrace that back. They're supposed to meet in, I guess they said another, like, I don't want to say he was an agent, but he's more of like, a little bit intel person.
He's an operative.
Okay. That is stationed in Japan because rumor has it. Don't worry, I'll edit it out. And basically, we find out that he is stationed in Japan because rumor has it that there's some info going on in Japan that's related to the situation that happened in space.
Right.
About the kidnapping of the
shuttle.
shuttle.
They believe that Japan has something to do with the spaceship or the space capsule going missing.
Yeah.
And so Tanaka has lived in Japan for years. Mm-hmm. He stayed after the war.
Henderson.
I'm sorry, Henderson. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Henderson stayed after the war. Mm-hmm. And has just lived in Japan, so he knows all the cultures. He's just a good contact.
He's like the guy, you know? It's
right.
Like if you're ever in town, you go to that guy if you want to know what's going on in the world, right? Cool. So what happens after that? He gets shipped off in the missile, and he's supposed to meet this gentleman at a sumo event, which it was pretty cool because like at the very beginning, right when he hit Japan, we get to see like a little bit of everything. We saw him walk around, and we're kind of seeing the culture. We're breathing into the culture and meeting this sumo guy in like I guess looks like a locker room, and then they go into that event.
It's actually kind of interesting to me because someone who like enjoys history, this is putting Japan in a nice light. You know. I mean, you have to remember that World War II was just 1945 is when it ended, you know, and Japan surrendered after we dropped the bombs. So the fact that they're taking the time to show how beautiful Japan is, you know, I think says a lot about trying to build relations with Japan.
And that's what we're
war.
also seeing in the previous Bonds, because I think now that is the formula about Bond, the mission, and then the like a beautiful place they go to and really showing you that world, what they have to show in that town. So that's what they were doing for Japan, along with, what they did in Russia, what they did in where were they in it was Istanbul, and then in Goldfinger they were all over all over
Europe and
in
Goldfinger,
and same thing with Thunderball. But it was really cool they showed more of that culture here, because I was actually interested in what that world of Japan was like. And so we go to the sumo event where he's supposed to meet Henderson, and then they're supposed to exchange code words,
right,
to identify, like, okay, I know who you are, you know who I are. You remember what the code was?
I love you.
There you go. And so,
no, Jeremy, I love you.
I love you too. I love you too. I love that girl that came and sat beside him, the one in the green.
Right, her name was Aki, and she was an agent for Henderson, and so she went on Henderson's behalf to go collect Bond and bring him back to a hotel room.
Have you noticed, like, right then and there, like the moment, like, they got in the car and she was taking him to go see Henderson, like, she was somebody that was like, I'm just going to enjoy the ride, because it felt like she was messing with Bond.
Well, I think Bond was a little iffy because of past experiences with people trying to pick him up.
This is what I want to say this is his second or third woman in a car he drove with.
Something about, and he didn't try to kill this one like he did Pussy, but
right. But
or
we got
Miss Galore. I'm sorry.
Right, or don't forget the one girl from Thunderball. Miss Fiona.
Yeah.
Fiona tried to do the same thing by trying to show him, try to show him how fast she can drive. But
that's what I was thinking of.
Fiona. Oh, you're talking about Fiona? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so he meets Henderson, and they're about to exchange information on what's going on. So Travis, what did they talk about? Do you remember? No. Kind of like just like a brief thing.
It was basically that Henderson believes that someone in Japan is responsible. He doesn't really have a lot of intel. He knows it's in Japan. He doesn't know where and who's responsible though.
Okay.
And so while they're talking, they're in a Japanese house, so it's got paper walls.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Henderson is stabbed from behind. While he's talking to Bond.
By an assassin, or aka a ninja.
Right. And so Bond runs after him, beats him up, and he realizes that there's another guy in a car waiting for this guy. So he puts on his clothes and pretends like he's hurt and lays down in the back seat.
Which, that was a really good idea. I honestly didn't see that coming. I didn't see like he was going to that was the best way to hide his head and then kind of just pretend that he was going to die.
Well, yeah, except he was way bigger than the guy that he beat up.
True.
And if it were like...
But that's why he was bending down a little bit, I guess.
Well,
to hide that, I guess. I don't know.
But I mean, if it was you and me and Bond beat you up and then put on, your clothes, if I know your height, if I saw a bigger guy, I'd be like, what is going on?
Or that driver could have just talked in Japanese, because I don't think Bond knows enough Japanese. If he doesn't respond or he doesn't say the right thing, I mean, he could have just got him.
Right.
But I think that driver was I guess maybe he was in the mode of like, we got to hurry, get in the car. Let's go. So that led them to this organization company. What was it called? I think this is called Osato.
It's a Osato Chemical Company.
Yeah. So
the henchman drives them both to Osato Chemical Company, and they make it upstairs to this office, and Bond ends up fighting this guy, and they throw themselves through a paper wall. Bond smashes this guy on the head with a little statuette.
No, let's stop there. Let's go back a minute, okay? Where does Bond get the strength to lift up a freaking couch and hit him with it? Can we talk about that real quick? It was not just the statue hit him. That was a finale. But they fought pretty much. Bond threw almost everything at him but the kitchen sink.
Right. It was because I think that guy was supposed to be like a sumo wrestler. He wasn't that big, but he was built for an Asian guy for sure.
Right. I guess I question more of not so much throwing stuff at him. It's just the fact that how Bond had the strength to even throw a freaking couch.
Yeah.
Dude, he lifted that couch like it was a paperweight. I kid you not.
I'm with you. It's just one of those things, man. It's just ridiculous.
They never really specify how
funny.
strong Bond is in these movies. He's just really good. He's just really good at it. And so now it goes to the part he hits him in the head with a statue, and then all of a sudden Bond just has this good sense of finding opening passageway-ish.
Well, he
because there was no crack on the door on that wall.
Yeah, while he's looking around the office, so he beats the henchman. He's looking around the office, and he finds like a hidden bar, and he throws the guy inside the hidden bar, and then he looks down and sees a safe. He cracks the safe while guards are coming. He almost got busted.
Right. And so after the guards kind of did their thing, he ends up like, what was it? Wait, no. They already came in, and then did he run out? I think he ran out.
Yeah, he ran out the back door and set off the alarm.
Yeah, and then the guard. No. Sorry, let's rewind back. The safe.
The safe set off the alarm.
And went inside. He grabbed some kind of information. We don't know what it was yet. So during that, he escapes, and the guards, knowing guards, they don't shoot very well, and he managed to escape. And who happens to appear at the right time at the right moment?
Aki.
And so he gets in the car with Aki, and they head out to it's interesting because like I don't think Bond knew. Bond was like, just drive. And so they end up talking, exchange information and stuff. And he's like, I'm going to take you to somebody. And then like all of a sudden she just stops the car and she just runs off. Like Bond was in a trap or something, but Bond just gets out.
Well, I think it's setting up the excitement of we as the audience don't know who she is. Mm-hmm. Bond doesn't know who she is. So I think Bond was chasing her to get intel, because if she is trying to set him up, he wants to know who is responsible.
And then Aki, of course, gets the upper hand on Bond as she stands still in the middle of this little alley, and Bond gets closer, walking all cocky and everything. A trapdoor happens.
Yeah, trapdoors are a theme in this movie.
I know, right? We gotta do a rank our favorite trapdoors and Bonds.
Right. Real quick though, I want to talk about this car.
Okay.
So Aki's car is a 67 2000 a Toyota 2000 GT, which is a convertible, and that car was never sold as a convertible. It was only for this movie that convertible exists.
That must cost a lot of money.
It's sold at auction for $1.5 million.
Holy crap!
And I don't know the condition that it was in. It very well could have been in bad condition.
Was it exactly the same color as the one in the movie? Or?
It's the exact car.
Okay.
The car from this movie sold at auction for $1.5 million.
You don't know when that occurred.
I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
Okay. Man. Does that make you a Bond now? Like you own a Bond vehicle, like a Bond car-ish? Would that make you a Bond?
You know the DB5 went missing. We'll talk about that another time. That's a whole other story. Anyway, so Bond falls through the trap door and meets this gentleman, this Japanese guy named Mr. Tanaka, or Tiger. Mm-hmm. And he gives Bond the code word, or the code phrase, "I love you." Mm-hmm. So Bond knows that he can trust Tanaka.
Mm-hmm. So in that room particularly, have you noticed that the technology? That's the first time we actually seen like, camera work like that. Even though today is not a big deal, but back in that time, technology was in this particular movie, technology is a big key, and you'll understand it if you watch the movie. But this room particularly where Tiger was in, like you saw these cameras, he saw him from a mile away coming that way, and that's how he set up that trap door for Bond.
Well, I think it's showing that Japan is up and coming as a competitor in the free world for electronics. Because even in the movie Back to the Future,
right?
The second one, when Marty is stuck in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no,
in the first one, yeah.
I'm sorry, in the first one. You're right. In the first one.
Yeah.
Doc tells him, well, here's what's wrong with your camera. It's made in Japan. And he's like, Doc, all the best stuff is made in Japan. So in 1955, Japan was not a powerhouse. In 1967, Japan is up and coming as a technology leader. Mm-hmm. And even to this day, Japan is known for electronics.
So from there, after their little exchange of information and whatnot, Bond wants to schedule appointment at the Osato chemical plant to talk to Mr. Osato himself, and he wants to disguise himself as an investor that's interested in his business.
Right. Real quick, Tanaka is so badass that he has a private train underground.
Oh, let's talk about that train. Yeah. Because the reason why is because he believes that he can get killed at any moment, so he keeps himself underground. So now he's up there as probably number one coolest Psy guy ever. Because, like, don't get me wrong, what's his face from Russia with Love? He had his own little underground thing, with the whole like periscope into the room and everything. But Tanaka kills that.
Yeah,
his own freaking train, dude.
Well, and Bond steals a photo from the safe when he was at Osato.
That they discuss on the train.
Right. And they get the name of a fishing or a ship, the name of a ship, but also in the middle of the picture is this little black dot. And Osato or Tanaka has the technology to where he can just upload this photo and they can zoom in HD quality. And, they learn that a tourist was killed for taking the photo of these women fishing and nobody knows why. So, Tanaka is badass.
But let's talk what's more to Tanaka as a badass, because you go to his place and he has like 1,000 of women.
Oh, dude, the massage scene?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He got like 1,000 of women, right? And so, and like his house is so badass. Like he has like two little spas, like set up like super Japanese style, which duh. But it was really cool because like, I like the character that he's bringing Bond in, but he's also showing his world. Like yeah, you know about the city, but you don't know what goes on on the other side of this city. And let me show you my world.
Right.
So this is why I have to keep myself low. But he has all of these women that massage, and
they bathe him, they massage him, he sleeps with them. Mm-hmm. He's pretty much got a harem.
Right.
Like let's be real.
And so, and even at the end, Tanaka's like, man, pick yourself one. Right. And have fun for the night, right. Which ended up being a switcheroo for Aki coming at the very end of that finishing.
Right.
So the next scene sets up where he meets Osato. So he goes in as an investor and he goes in, which this is where we called this is what we're going to call it the segment. And this particular one, Travis will explain how a particular scene happens to get replaced in 2 seconds. Go ahead.
So the scene where Bond had just fought this guy, destroyed that paper wall. They're throwing couches around, which I wonder if the couches came from IKEA. I'm just gonna throw that out there. The statue that he smashed over the guy's head and broke is replaced. Mm-hmm. It looks as though he was never there the night before.
They work freaking fast. Like they must have been like a maintenance group or something in there doing that. And so,
and it's funny because while Bond is here as an investor, every move he makes, someone is typing what he's doing. So you can hear a typewriter typing that he's walking over to inspect the statue.
Right. So
or he's walking over to do this. And then every time he stopped, the typing stops.
So he's actually in Mr. Sato's office as we speak about this, and there's actually a camera in the ceiling that's watching Bond, and as Travis mentioned, that he is typing everything out. But it's so interesting that they have a camera bedded into the typewriter. And let me tell you, I would not. It's basically you're a stenographer. I would hate that. I would hate that job. And so, as Bond is sitting there waiting, doing all this stuff, Mr. Osato will be coming in, but he's not alone, Travis.
No, he's got, let's see, her name is Helga Brandt, and she's actually an operative for Spectre. She's number 11.
Mm-hmm. And so after they come in a helicopter, they sit down and talk. And Bond mentions that, he's interested in his business, yada this, yada that. But what Bond doesn't know, once again, it goes into Japan got some technology, because as he's sitting in the desk, He has an X-ray scanner on his desk that looked at Bond as Bond sat in the chair that's right across from him. Scanned of what he has on him, was he discovered that he has a gun on him.
Right, his PPK.
Yeah. And so from there, Mr. Sato had to, play it cool. And while you're doing that, 11 was kind of just, she went to go get her drink and everything. But also we find out as she was going in to get a drink, there was no body in there.
Right. Bond was afraid that they would find a body.
And so she selects a drink for him, yada this, yada that. And then he goes his merry way. But Osato was quick to the point. He was like, hey, you know that guy that came in? Yeah, I'm going to need you to kill him. And so as Bond is about to leave, the soldiers came out and coming out with guns. And then guess who came by again?
Aki.
And they got in and they managed to escape the chemical. But that doesn't mean it was over. There was the chase continue, right?
Right.
So they're driving down. They're driving all through the city. Like, Aki can drive. I think she's probably the best driver so far in this Bond series.
Well, she does have that Toyota 2000 GT.
True. But the car doesn't make you a better driver.
No, but it helps.
Yeah, true. But anyways, so what happens after that is there's a giant car scene, and apparently she's not the only one with a cool Bond car. Her car can call for backup in a cool way. And all of a sudden, this helicopter comes so fast. Dude, this car came fast like Amazon fast. Like Roadrunner fast. Remember Roadrunner on the internet, that thing? It just came so freaking fast that it already had a device ready to pick up the car. Like I don't even remember her talking about, like, I have... bring that thing to come lift this car up. No, they were like, no, we know what it is. We got you. So they lift the car up, and they decided to drop it off in the middle of the
ocean.
Yeah, the ocean.
Because they're in Japan, they're surrounded by the ocean.
Which comes to the first car in a Bond movie that did not blow up within a matter of this situation. So from there, the next day. Which it blows my mind of this next scene because Bond decides to...
Well, it's not even the next day. It's that same day.
Was it?
Yeah.
I just took the scene as the next day.
No, because he goes to visit Osato in the morning. So he's like, well, let's go check out the dock that's got that ship on it, the Ningpo.
Which is like, they know who you are, Bonds. Are you that cocky you're just going to go to the dock and just walk around like they don't know you?
But they don't. They know... Well, it's very possible that Osato didn't say anything to his crew on the dock.
So you're thinking Bond got there quick enough before Osato alerted them that, hey, keep an eye on a white guy.
Well, Mr. Osato just told not Helga, number 11 to kill Bond. So they probably haven't got word yet that not only has their man been thrown in the ocean, but that he's still alive. And they don't think it's Bond, because later on we established that they believe Bond is dead because of that whole funeral scene.
That's true. That's very true. And then that, of course, leads to the big, kind of a fighting scene.
Right.
Which, is weird because I always feel like the people that are fighting Bond hold back a little bit on him in this particular fight.
Oh, for sure.
So, Bond got away with a lot of stuff. I think Aki was doing... I don't want to say, was Aki really mostly doing all the work? Yes, per se. I'm not 100% sure. But regardless, they were basically duking it out. I mean, Bond went up some stairs, fought it out, jumped back down, and then he told Aki
all these guys have, knives and machetes and martial arts and all this other stuff. But, yeah, they try to run him over with a forklift. Just a bunch of, it's just a big fight scene.
And of course that led to guns and stuff too and all that fun stuff. So Bond got what he needed to know at that dock because he was looking at some suspicious stuff, looking at missiles. He found some information about chemical stuff and missiles and all this stuff, trying to figure is there any connection to Spectre.
Well, trying to figure out
if they're connected.
Why they're trying to kill him, because he doesn't know that they're connected to Spectre.
Bond doesn't know?
No.
I would think that's why they went. Okay, I assume.
No, he's just there to investigate the missing space capsule.
Okay.
He doesn't know it's Spectre just yet.
Oh, okay. So let's talk about one of the fight scenes that was interesting. The only reason I think it's interesting because we see this, and I am breaking off from the film kind of view for a second, because we've seen this in a lot of Japanese films where Bond is in a fight scene on top of the roof and the camera pans out for this particular fight scene. So this fight scene is quite interesting because Bond, this is the first time we see Bond actually like really, really run away. He like halfway in this, he runs away from all of them because he can't take them all out.
Wow, there's too many guys.
Right, so he ends up like throwing stuff. But what's interesting though is he takes a leap from this top building where he got chased on the roof down, which I don't believe that's makes sense to me, because there is no, I don't know why. To me, I don't feel confident that he would jump and just hoping like, oh, it's gonna be something soft, I'm gonna be okay. I don't believe that.
In the stunt world, if you stack up boxes, so Bond does like a flip off the building and lands on his back on a bunch of boxes covered in a tarp, and then he does it again and he's on the ground floor. That is something they do in stunts. The boxes will break your fall.
Okay,
but he doesn't know if there's something heavy in those boxes.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I mean, for all he know, like more, it's probably like rotten fish or stuff. But it could be like heavy metal objects, and he could just like fall and break his back.
Right, but regardless of that, what happened there, he still got caught. He got knocked out. He still got caught, and it leads up to basically. Actually, this is the beginning of Helga's intro, because Helga was kind of the side chick in Osato's office. So now we kind of get her little introduction as Bond was tied up. And so she was actually trying to get Bond to kind of work with her. Not work with her like together as a team. Work together, like, give me the information I need to know. Why are you here at this docks? Why are you acting so suspicious?
Right. She's threatening to torture Bond.
Yeah.
She's got a drawer. Like, they're on a ship. They're on the Ningpo. Mm-hmm. And she's got like this room, and she's got like a dresser, and she opens the dresser drawer, and she's got all these sharp instruments, and she takes one and threatens to hurt Bond, and of course Bond talks her into sex instead.
Mm-hmm. Or we like to call it bonding it. And so from there, she ends up kind of playing the game with him.
Right.
So this leads to them. What it seems like they were kind of like running away, or they're going somewhere because they end up on a plane. And so as they're on this plane, she's, they're just, they sound like they were sweet talking each other kind of ish, or Bond's just doing all the talking.
Bond is convincing her to run away with him.
Yeah.
And join his side because she's got information.
Yeah. So they're on this plane, and then all of a sudden
and it's like a Cessna. It's a little 2-person. It's not a very big plane.
Yeah, sorry.
Everything in this movie is small.
Yeah, they don't do big planes. It's mostly a 1 or 2 people planes. Most of the time.
And there's another thing that comes up later. But everything is really compact. Mm-hmm. Like, I think they're demonstrating that things are smaller in Japan. Mm-hmm. Lighter, more efficient type stuff.
Mm-hmm. And so as they were talking, she ends up pressing a switch, and a latch came and locked Bond's in. And think of it as like picture like a counter, like, or something sliding in where you can't lift your arms up.
Right. So Bond's arms,
you have to stay sitting.
His arms are in his lap, and this like counter shoots out, and there's no room for him to move around. So his hands are stuck on his lap. Mm-hmm. He can't really do anything.
And granted, by the way, like, those who are sitting awfully really close, and this is a 2-seater, like he said, they're awfully close, like front seat, back seat close, like in a car. They were really close. So this latch managed to just pull out of nowhere and just lock him in. And then she decides to, jump out of the plane and leave Bond there. So as this plane goes down, Bond is leading to basically his death. Or does he survive?
I guess we'll have to find out after the break.
Hey, this is Jeremy Evans, a.k.a. Your In-Game Boss, and I want to thank you so much for listening to this podcast as part of the In-Game Boss program, a network of gaming and other variety of these shows that you can find on Podbean, YouTube, and of course iTunes. Shows like the In-Game Boss podcast, the Gaming Halls of Rivalries, Bond Never Dies, and Area 44. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the show. And welcome to the second half of Bond Never Dies. I'm your host, Jeremy Evans, with Travis Hanna.
Ba-da, ba-da.
And we left you with Bond in a plane crashing down to his death. Or did he survive?
Well, he's trapped. What's he going to do?
So apparently this thing that came across his lap is actually wood, which Bond managed to pull one hand out, karate chop it, get in a plane. Not in the plane. Sorry, get into the
pilot seat.
And he managed to
crash land it,
and then managed to get out before it completely exploded. Does that make sense to you?
Oh no, but Bond is a trained agent, and so karate chopping wood like that either makes me believe that he's super skilled at karate chopping wood. It goes back to my theory that part of their furniture is made in IKEA. Or we just needed something to happen to make Bond look cool.
So do you, just out of your expertise, that plane, when the way he landed it and started wrecking down, do you think it was possible that it could have been landed like that and then he got out or exploded? Or you think it would have been exploded right on the surface? Even though you skid through?
the plane like skid across on its belly, you know. I've seen lots of videos where planes have done that before, so I believe it's totally believable.
Okay.
I've seen clips where planes have lost. Well, the Sully incident in New York, the engines went out. There wasn't enough to keep them going. He had to crash land in the Hudson.
Okay.
So when the plane is in the air, it'll glide. Like you have some control, you know.
Right.
So yeah, I totally believe it's believable.
Okay, so we're now. For our listeners, we are now going to the second half of this mission, where now he's at Tanaka's house, and they're trying to talk about what the next step is.
Right.
So, Travis, what is Tanaka's plan?
Tanaka has more information about the island, where the tourist was killed for taking the photo. Bond, they're going to go scout the island, basically. So Bond puts in a call for little Nellie and her father. And we find out that little Nellie is a little tiny helicopter with missiles and guns and all this stuff. And father is Q. So Q shows up with a bunch of guys who have briefcases, and they assemble this little tiny helicopter.
So at first, Bond had a hard time getting this helicopter going. I mean, he had to do the runway of this helicopter about a couple of times before getting it off the air completely. But we see him kind of scoping the island. But all of a sudden, I guess people caught wind of it and decided to bring their own arsenal in there. So
on this island, there's a bunch of volcanoes, and he's inspecting the island and looking down inside the volcanoes. And all of a sudden, the helicopters show up.
So, and I want to say, I guess it's not Mount Fuji then, I guess. No. So, but.
No, it looks like there's like 2 or 3 volcanoes on this island.
But that scenery is freaking beautiful, though.
Oh, no, it's great. It's awesome because there's lakes inside of these craters, and everything is super green. It's very cool.
So, he's being chased by, I believe, 5 helicopters, if I'm correct. I want to say, I might be 100% wrong. I know it was more than 4, maybe 6.
I'm trying to think.
Because he used every single arsenal on that helicopter to take out those helicopters. So
yeah, I think you're right. I think it was 5.
Okay, so what did we feel about that particular scene? I thought that scene was actually really cool to see like Bond and this little thing take out these big helicopters. I thought it was a really cool scene for him.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's got flamethrowers on this thing. He's got machine guns. He's got missiles. He's got rockets. And I think like the whole idea, like I said earlier, this movie has a theme with small. You know, it has a theme with trapdoors. It's just neat. It's fun. Basically, his helicopter is more nimble, more agile, and it's got the weapons. So he can outmaneuver these helicopters, even though they have machine guns, and then take them out. And it's fun. It's different from a traditional like car chase.
Yeah, and this is the first time we actually see Bond in an air fight so far. Because So that was a little interesting about that part. Then after that particular scene, he comes back down, kind of doing the information, because on his helmet there's a camera where he could take pictures and whatnot. It's basically the GoPro before it was GoPro.
Right.
That's what it feels like. But as they were coming down, as he landed and all that stuff, Tanaka's next plan was, I believe, Travis, correct me if I'm wrong, it's time to train him to be ready to infiltrate this island.
We're not quite there yet.
We're not quite there yet. I apologize. Where are we at?
What happens in between is the Russians launch a space capsule.
Okay, so before we go into that, I think there is a particular scene we need to talk about on that part, because I jumped the gun too far.
Okay.
Can we talk about how those guys haven't really tried to put two and two together, as the U.S. in that meeting room with the U.K. and them exchanging their thoughts about, hey, you stole this, and then they find out that U.S. stole theirs, and then they're, no information exchanging on that.
I think it's just playing on Cold War tensions.
Mm-hmm.
At this time, America and Russia are not. I mean, we're in the nuclear arms race. We're not good friends.
Right. I guess it's because.
And so that's what Spectre is counting on, is that, we blamed Russia for stealing our capsule. Mm-hmm. Russia gets their capsule taken by Spectre, and they think the U.S. did it. So
I guess it was interesting because they all talked about all that on the table together. Like, the representatives of Russia and the U.S. and U.K. were all in a room discussing this.
Right.
And I guess, I don't know why, I just felt like that no one put the two and two together. We didn't take your thing last time. Yes, you did. Just like you took the first one. No, you did.
Well, that actually happened at the beginning of the movie.
I'm just rolling this all together because this is a big scene we're talking about coming up.
Right, for sure. So the UK is mediating a meeting between Russia and the United States. And the UK is kind of with Russia, like, you don't have any proof that Russia did it. Mm-hmm. What makes you say Russia did it, So the Russians launched their space capsule. Spectre steals it. And the giant capsule with the Russian capsule inside of it lands in a volcano base on the island that Bond was just inspecting.
So we find out that now we're getting to where this whole story, basically comes to the main part of the reason why the situation is right now. It's in this volcano, which it's disguised on top of it looking like a lake from a distance, but as you get closer, it's actually just a metal hatch that they open up.
It's a green metal door that slides across and opens up.
And that thing slides very quickly.
Yeah. And so in this scene, we watch this craft land, and number one from Spectre is there. Mm-hmm. And he's talking to these Japanese guys who are pleased because they want to cause the war to destabilize the United States and Russia. Mm-hmm. And number one, of course, tells them that he wants more money and that he'll be in his office, where he calls in Mr. Osato and Helga.
Oh, go ahead.
And so he looks at the X-ray that Osato took, and he says, "Do you know what kind of weapon this is?" And Osato says it's a PPK. And number one says, "Well, there's only one person we know that has a PPK."
I love the fact that he kind of like, I feel like when he talks to them, he's like, why am I figuring this out quicker than you guys kind of talk? You know what I mean? It's just like, how come you guys not getting this?
Well, because he's the mastermind.
I guess so.
And they all heard that Bond was dead. So, but I'm kind of jumping the gun a little bit. So while he's talking to these Japanese guys, he gets one of his henchmen, like he's got a pond or a little like koi pond thing, and he gets one of his henchmen to throw like a flank steak into the water, and he pulls out nothing but bone. And the number one explains that there's piranha in there that are ravenous and will kill people. Mm-hmm. And so he's after that he talks to Osaka, number one, looks at the X-ray, explains to them that Bond is still alive and that they encountered him, and what did they do to try to kill him. And Osato totally throws Helga under the bus and says, well, I told her to kill him. And he was like, well, did you do it? Well, no, he got away. So number one tells them, just go get Bond. So Osato walks over this little bridge and stops, and he's waiting for Helga, and Helga follows right after him. And number one hits a switch, and the bridge collapses, and Helga falls right into the water with the piranha.
All right, so let's talk about
So another trap door.
So let's talk about this right now. Who was in the wrong? Was it Helga or Osato to you? Who would you want to kill off? Just out of curiosity. I would kill Osato.
Well, I don't know, man. That's a good question.
Like Helga could at least be something. She could still, because she's got skills still. And yes, she let Bond go, and she had the opportunity, and I understand that. But she at least gets a second chance. Osato, he doesn't really do anything, and he could take over that organization or get someone else to replace him. I think Osato for me, but I'll let you sit on it. Who you think it is?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I just think he was just trying to get his point across, and he couldn't let the first person who went over the bridge die, because then they would either both die, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was just a scene to.
I think I'm more upset because there's a wannabe Grant in that room. That tall guy that looks like a wannabe Grant character.
Yeah.
But we'll get to him later. But moving on.
And that's Grant from
Russia with Love.
From Russia with Love.
And so now,
which you should go listen to that podcast as well.
Now we get into the part that I'm excited to talk about.
Yeah, this is awesome.
This is Tanaka's plan. So,
well, we cannot forget about Tanaka's ninja training school.
Yes, go into that.
Okay, so Bond arrives at Tanaka at another place with Tanaka, and they're talking, and Tanaka informs him that Bond is currently standing in a ninja training camp, and Tanaka is showing him around, and Tanaka literally just has guys. Dudes who look like samurais, dudes throwing ninja stars, dudes bow fighting, dudes with guns. He's got rocket guns that shoot rocket bullets. He's got cigarettes that shoot missiles.
They have their own Q branch.
Like it's totally crazy. And he's gonna take a few days and train Bond to be a ninja, but also he's going to disguise Bond to look more Japanese. So the whole plan is Bond is going to go back to the island as under the guise of being I think a pharmacist or something like that. But they put prosthetics on his face to try to make him look more Japanese. They put a black wig on his face to try to make him look more Japanese. It's a little funny because he's hunched over the whole time to try to make himself look smaller, but you can tell he's a big dude.
Right.
But
so wait, before you move on, can we just say during his tour of the training school that there wasn't really that much ninja work? It was more, as we discussed off the air, it was more samurai work.
Right. There's guys with katanas, kendo sticks, like it looks more Bushido than it does ninja.
Because the only thing we saw ninja, we didn't see like people like climbing up stuff like a ninja would do. Most of the time, the most ninja thing in there was the throwing stars.
Right.
We didn't see anything that would feel like a ninja. You know, they're not like on little bamboos, like little stumps hopping across something that was like maybe been traps or something. No, nothing in there that feels like ninja-like.
And there's one dude who is just uber badass with a katana. He takes on like 8 guys, and later on he like shows up. We'll talk about him later on. Anyway, so yeah, they have like their own Q branch. Tanaka literally has missile bullets that shoot out of these special guns, so they blow up on impact. He's got rifles that shoot him. He's got handguns that shoot him. They actually have rockets in them to propel the bullets. It's pretty comical.
I swear, like the only thing they're missing is actually their own Asian edition of 007. Like they got their own organization going. So of course, you know, he has enough, you know, cigarettes to offer Mr. Bond. So he said, "Here, take these with you just in case." And so through all the training, like you said, through his makeup and his training, which on maybe the first or second day of his training, he did get almost killed. Was an assassin disguised as one of the students, went after him, and for some assassin, I swear that guy was terrible. Like, Bond is learning, and Bond beats you? Come on, man.
Right, Bond. So they're fighting with bow staffs, and all of a sudden, this dude pulls out a blade out of his, like shoots a blade out, and Bond takes it from him and stabs him with it.
Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, Bond has to get married. So during his training, he gets married to. He was going to get married to a different woman. Then Aki was really demanding, like, I want to be the one.
He wants to marry Aki, but Tanaka won't let him. Mm-hmm. Won't let him put her in danger. Mm-hmm. So Tanaka tells him that he's got a girl for him, and Bond asks if she's pretty, and he says that she has a pig face.
That's right. That's right. And so, which is not true. But anyways, so Aki ends up taking the role, but it ends up not working out because Aki ends up kind of accidental getting assassinated.
Right.
And what happened was an assassin came into the room where they were sleeping as newlyweds per se.
Not
newlyweds, but
no, it's before he's getting married. Because Tanaka wouldn't let him marry Aki. They're just doing it. Like
they're just bonding it. Okay.
Bond comes in and he's got all his makeup on, and he's like crawling into bed, and he's like over Aki, and she's like, "You have to do." Or Mr. Tanaka said you have to do everything Japanese now, and he goes, "Oh, good for him," and then like goes into this whole like it fades out. So he was totally bonding with her.
Right. And so they end up asleep. And then an assassin came, and he was actually, I want to say per se, on the ceiling-esque.
Yeah, so he crawled in through the roof, through an opening on the roof, and he's in the rafters. And he drops the string down, and anybody who's seen the movie Grosse Point Blank will know what I'm talking about. Basically, he slowly injects fluid on the string,
which is poison,
right? And the poison slides all the way down, and it's supposed to land in Bond's mouth. Mm-hmm. But Bond moves at the last minute, and Aki moves with him, and she ends up swallowing the poison instead.
Mm-hmm. And then she ends up to her death. And so,
right.
And then just to speed up the process, they had to move on.
Right.
Sadly enough, so he ends up going through the next stage and actually getting married to the woman named Kissy
Sazuki,
and they end up getting married. And the goal is to take her as a wife to pretend they were a married couple on the island which they arrived to.
Right.
They never discussed what the name of the island was. Did they?
Not that I recall. But Kissy lives on this island. She grew up on this island,
and that's the reason why
she has a house there. Yeah, she's also an operative.
Nice mm-hmm.
She's also an operative for Mr. Tanaka. Mm-hmm. But what Kissy does is she fishes. So every morning, these women go out and they deep dive fish for like clams and that mm-hmm. kind of stuff.
Very traditional in that culture, and at the time where they end up, kind of learning a little bit of the culture, and then after a fiasco happened I guess, like, I don't want to say it was a parade. I guess it was like a little ceremony for people that died.
It was a funeral.
A funeral.
Funeral procession.
Yeah, so for people that died in a particular accident, and she was trying to get information about it.
It was one girl who was also a fisher. She died, mm-hmm. and we find out, like, while it's happening, Kissy is talking to someone from the village in Japanese, and there's no subtitles, so we don't know anything. Mm-hmm. Later, we find out that there was a cove that this girl went into to try and find
that's right,
oysters or
that's right.
Clams or whatever, and she just mysteriously died. Like, they found her dead mm-hmm. in her boat.
And so one particular scene that was really funny is when they got to the house, and Bond was already trying to nail Kissy, and she would just go straight to him like, we are straight traditional. Your bed's over there. My bed's over here.
Right. This is just a job.
Right.
And it's funny because he had like they get there and there's oysters prepared for him, and he's like excited because if you don't know, oysters are supposedly an aphrodisiac for men.
I did not know that.
Oh yeah. So she turns him down, and he's like, "Well, I guess I won't be needing these."
And so from there, they were actually sleeping like basically in the daytime per se, I guess. Well, Bond was basically like looking out the window. She was actually taking a nap.
Right.
And so then all of a sudden, Mr. Tanaka, aka Tiger, came in and he says, "Okay, I know we trained for this, but F all this. They updated the time. We gotta move."
Right. So the Americans are launching another capsule. And they moved up the timeline for when they were going to launch. So they thought they had more time to scope out the island, and they don't now. So this is when they find out that girl died by that cove. So the next morning,
they went to go visit that cove.
They went fishing as husband and wife, and then broke away from everyone else and went inside the cove.
And which it was not a good idea because they had a particular smell. I couldn't remember what that smell was they specified, but they had to hurry up and get out. I don't know if it was like a high like fume or something that was like they could start a fire or some sort.
Right.
Like
it was something that was kind of poisonous, and it couldn't be in there very long.
Yeah, so they had to get out, and then
they end up scaling the volcano.
Yeah, and so
Kissy is in a bikini this whole time, and she climbs all the way up to the top of the volcano.
That was so weird.
Yeah,
that's so weird. And so, so they sat out there for a little bit because like they didn't know. Like, okay, first when they first made it down into the crater of the volcano, Bond noticed, and maybe I'm jumping ahead, but Bond started kind of feeling out the place, and he realized that this piece of thing down here is
while they were taking a break from climbing, and they saw a helicopter, and the helicopter lowered into the crater.
Okay, and that's where they followed
and
it.
disappeared.
That's
So
right.
they looked over the crest into the crater, and they just saw a lake.
Okay.
So they climbed down.
For our listeners, we were actually at the time we record this, we were supposed to record this a week before, but it's been 2 weeks since we watched the video, so we're kind of trying to
If you can't tell by my voice, I was a little sick.
Yeah, so we're trying to like remember all this as we go. Okay, anyways, and we have notes and whatnot. Anyways, go on.
Nighttime is coming. Bond and Kissy come down into the crater. And Bond takes a rock and throws it into the water because he thinks it looks strange. And he hears a loud clang. And he's like, oh, well, it's metal. So he stands on it. And sure enough, they're getting ready to do an operation. And so it starts opening up. So he tells Kissy to go back and get Tanaka and all the ninjas. And Bond is going to infiltrate. So we find out that Spectre is going to launch their capsule again to capture the other American capsule in space.
And so after the helicopter came down, they opened up the hatch again and all this stuff. Bond finally gets in, and Kissy stayed behind to wait for get reinforcements.
She swam back.
Yeah, she swam at the
because one of the helicopters eventually sees her in the water and tries shooting at her, and she evades all their bullets.
So Bond ends up infiltrating the place, and he actually managed to knock out one of the astronauts because they were about to go on another mission up in space.
Well, first he saves the American astronauts.
Yeah, that's right.
And then with them, they take out a bunch of guys and then steal their clothes.
That's right.
And then they go to where the Spectre astronauts are.
I forgot there was other astronauts. I totally forgot about them.
Yeah. So these are the American astronauts with Bond in their disguises go and find the astronauts that are going to go capture the new capsule, take their uniforms, and they're going to try and get in the ship and fly it. But then number one notices that Bond is carrying his air conditioner for his suit and tells them to arrest or to apprehend the astronauts and send in the second team, basically. And we actually get to meet number one, get his whole name this time.
Which his name is Ernst
Stavro Blofeld.
Can't say that name perfectly anyway. Okay, so just to kind of wrap this up, because we're gonna go after we talk about the kind of how the story go, we're gonna talk about our overall thoughts and what we thought of a particular scene. But this also breaks out into Bond kind of being captured, and what happened was that he had a cigarette that got him out of that situation, right?
He had a missile cigarette. Well, the ninjas show up and start infiltrating.
So they got in first before he did that missile, right? Okay. Right. I thought it was the other way around. Okay.
So ninjas start descending into the volcano base. Chaos is happening. Bond asks Blofeld if he can have a cigarette.
That's right.
And Blofeld's like, sure, let me have a cigarette.
Which, that is his theme, I think. We're going to keep an eye on that. Getting out of a situation with a cigarette. How many times has he done that?
And so he shoots one of the guys with the missile. Chaos is going on. Blofeld eventually leaves the control room and is trying to escape with Bond as a prisoner. He kills Mr. Osato. And Bond ends up getting away from him, but Blofeld gets away on a monorail.
Because he went back to that back upstairs in that place where he was captured, a little office where they do. Okay, it was the office where they were in, where
it's just the command center.
It's a command center to get the hatch to stay open, I guess.
Right. So in the
because before that there was a particular scene. Go ahead.
In the command center, there is a button that will self-destruct.
That's right. Right. But to get to that button,
right? Bond had to go. Because Bond at this point is fighting guys with the ninjas, so he has to get back up to get the to basically blow up the capsule before it swallows the American capsule. Of course, he does. He saves the day. The Americans celebrate, but Blofeld actually causes the volcano base to self-destruct, which also causes the volcano to erupt. So everybody inside is sneaking out or trying to swim out through that cove. And when they get out, Mr. Tanaka has arranged these airplanes to drop off inflatable rafts. So everybody's swimming to the rafts. They get in, and
which is now, I think, the second or third time Bond has ended his mission on a raft.
Right. And that's where the movie ends.
So
the volcano is erupting with blue screen and explosions, and
play the music.
So
now that we kind of give you an idea of what the whole story is, we definitely recommend you watching the movie to see what your thoughts about it. But we're going to tell you about our thoughts, and we're going to go into what we thought of the villain, what we thought with the girl, what we thought about the Q branch, and whatnot. So, Bond villain. There's really not.
Blofeld, I think, is the Bond villain.
He is the Bond villain. He didn't really do anything.
It's our introduction to number one, the guy who's been in charge of Spectre for 4 movies. The guy that says failure is not an option. If you fail, you die, kind of guy. Right.
And so, but what's interesting is for the first time we got to kind of get to see what he looks like, and he's a ball-headed gentleman with a scar on his left.
Right, so he's Dr. Evil with a scar over his right eye.
Yeah.
And anybody who's seen Bond, the Daniel Craig Spectre, basically, what's his name?
Crap.
Anyway,
yeah.
The bad guy in that is basically Bond's brother,
Christoph Waltz,
right?
Yeah.
Christoph Waltz is Blofeld, so he gets a scar at the end of the movie. So if you can see that, if you envision that scar on Dr. Evil,
that's basically
who Blofeld is.
But it's hard to put an opinion if he was good or not, because he wasn't in enough scenes to do that. It was more of you'll get to see the full of him in the next mission if he shows up again. But other than that, once again, they doing that whole save him for last, but was not share too much of him.
Right. It's this one was more Bond stopping a war between two nations.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I think it was more of a, this is the guy that's in charge of Spectre, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any more opinion than that.
Right.
Like, it's
tough.
It's tough.
It's tough.
It's not a bad movie by any means.
And we'll talk about the overall thoughts of the movie. Let's get through the Bond. Let's get through the Bond girl. So, Aki, I think, is more of the Bond girl than Kissy. If you think about it, it's really two Bond girls, but really the main Bond girl to me, it has to be Aki, hands down.
Well, yeah, because she does more for sure,
and she was in the majority of the movies. Kissy was only in it for the last really 20 minutes.
Well, how long was Honey Rider in Dr. No?
Yeah, but she was the first female they saw.
You know, so I mean, female. I don't know. I think they can both be classified as Bond chicks, Bond girls, but
I would say, okay, fine. We'll say they're both the Bond girls, but I think Aki was
definitely more.
Yeah.
Right.
So I actually like Aki. Aki was a really good Bond girl, and I'm noticing that I don't know if they learned from maybe Thunderball or whatnot, but I think they're slowly trying to get these Bond girls to be a little bit more active and stuff, instead of like they do one cool thing then you take them away, which they still did it in this particular film. And to tell you the truth, I think Aki should have just lived through this whole thing. I think Kissy was a waste of time.
Yeah, but it very well could have just been fan service, man.
It could be. But the fan service was the massage scene. That was the fan service. Which I bet you Kissy was in there somewhere.
Kissy was just in a bikini pretty much the whole time.
I'll take the massage thing for me. That's the fan service right there. But just overall, just to me, I think if it wasn't for the fact that mission got sped up, they had to hurry up, that Kissy got cut. So Kissy didn't really get the attention that they wanted to do.
And she didn't do much other than be Bond's wife.
Yeah.
Climb the mountain with her and then go back and get more ninjas.
I guess I like Aki too, because Aki was a little bit more energetic, and like she was having fun when she was doing stuff, it felt like. And compared to Kissy was like, I'm all about the mission. Let's focus on the mission. I'm not going to play with you, Bond. Let's just get this done, okay? And Bond, I don't think Bond really liked Kissy. But anyways, what's your thoughts about Aki and Kissy?
I'm with you, man. Aki totally did more. Kissy was just there to progress the story.
Mm-hmm. And Aki gets 1 point because she got that car too.
Oh yeah, the 2000 GT for sure.
She got that car.
She can drive. She can lure guys in. She knows how to use trapdoors.
By the way, does she even do any martial arts in this whole film?
No, none of them do.
Does that disappoint you a little bit that she could have done? She should have done some kind of martial arts.
Oh yeah,
especially she's at a training school.
Right, she's living with Tanaka at a ninja training school. Surely she should know something.
Right. I wish they kind of showed more of her doing some stuff, even if it was a one-on-one fight with Bond, just because he didn't trust her.
And we didn't cover it. So there was a badass dude at the training camp who like took on 8 guys, and they totally show that guy again in the volcano, like beating up a bunch of guys, which I thought was a nice touch.
So let's get to that in just a second. Okay. I do want to talk about that particular scene. I just wanted to hurry up and get through the
right.
But that is a particular scene I want to talk about because that leads into the Q branch for a second,
right?
And that will lead everything to that. So the Q branch, there was only one thing. It was a helicopter. That's all Q gave him.
It wasn't just a helicopter, sir. It was Little Nelly.
Little Nelly. That's it. It was Little Nelly. That's it.
But
and Nelly did the job. It was good.
But it had flamethrowers.
No, it was awesome.
And missiles.
No, it was awesome. I thought it was amazing. Because it's funny. It's either give you a couple of little cool things or give you one badass thing, and that's what he did. He gave you one small, big, badass thing, which did the job. That particular fighting scene in helicopter was pretty cool, and I recommend everybody seeing that particular scene because that was really cool at the time with the budget that they had. So I really commend them for that. But it felt like that Tanaka had the upper hand because the cigarette thing was pretty awesome.
Well, sure, and then missile bullets.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Which they use. It's funny because did they even use any of that
Yeah, they do. They mainly use grenades to blow up the guys, but there's a couple of scenes. Bond actually picks up one of the guns with the missile bullets and uses it.
Mm-hmm. So, I want to talk about the big fight scene at the very end where it was all like shooting and whatnot. And Travis mentioned the part with the samurai part, which it was cool because I think that's something that needed to be accomplished. Like, why show how badass these samurais are and not show them what they can really do in action?
Well, there's actually a writing theory called Chekhov's gun.
Uh-huh.
And Chekhov is a guy that he wrote short plays. And his theory was if you're going to introduce something in the first act, it needs to do something in the second or third act. Mm-hmm. So if you put a gun center stage on a wall, the audience expects to see that gun be used somewhere else.
Because you're giving it so much attention.
Right. So we gave attention to this dude specifically. Like, he's not in the background. He's not like, we're focused on him fighting 8 guys. And then we see him again fighting like 8 guys. Mm-hmm. It's great. It's
probably one of the best scenes in that film.
It was like the opposite of that Keanu Reeves movie where the Ronin, 47 Ronin. It's like they got these swords that had magic powers. Each person, the sword was different for each person. Mm. It didn't do anything. And
that's so disappointing.
Like we were built up and told that these swords are badass and that each person sword does something different, and we didn't get to see any of that. So it builds it up. So they built this dude up, and then we got the payoff because we got to see him, fight.
So, do you remember everything that went on that helicopter on the Q branch before we give our overall thoughts and wrap the show up? Do you remember?
He just had he had the flamethrower, the rockets. He had bombs that he parachuted down.
That was interesting.
And then he had 2 missiles.
Okay. And you say flamethrower that shoots
back?
Yeah.
He has a flamethrower that shoots back.
Okay. And so I like that. I think it's probably in my top, one of my favorites.
The movie is?
Or that gadget in particular.
That's a cool gadget.
Yeah.
It would be really neat to see them try to bring that back in a modern Bond film. Mm-hmm. Maybe with like Black Hawk technology or Comanche technology. That'd be kind of cool.
But overall thoughts of the mission.
Or drones, if he had a drone.
Okay, so overall thoughts of the mission. Did Bond succeed on the mission? This particular mission, yes, he did succeed, and it actually went pretty well. I felt like that he really succeeded this mission on his own really well.
He did a lot of footwork. Mm-hmm. He got a lot of help from Mr. Tanaka, which is understandable. He's a foreigner in a foreign land. Mm-hmm. Mr. Tanaka has all the gadgets and the resources, and I think Bond really found most everything on his own, other than the intel that he had to get from Tanaka.
Right. I actually blame Tanaka on some of the parts of this mission because he has some good ideas, but it just did not work out. I think in the second half of this particular mission that the whole idea, and you know what? I know that stuff happens, and the idea of him dressing up to pretend he was Japanese, which was not convincing. I don't care what anybody says.
No, it was not.
I'm pretty sure that the moment he landed on the dock, the Japanese people in Japanese was like, "What is this white guy doing?"
It's kind of reminiscent. There's a Western film where James Caan is super young, and
was that Marlon Brando, or was
I believe it does have Marlon Brando and the Duke.
Yeah,
and James Caan, quote unquote, dresses up like a Chinaman. Mm-hmm. He just puts a little hat on and a little drape over his back, and he crouches down and puts his hands together, and walks up to this dude and punches him in the face. And it was kind of like that, where it's not convincing at all that Bond is Japanese.
So yeah, and as him dressing up like that and then going in this and then finding out not even a whole day passed, they said, "Hey, this ain't working, man. They something's going on. We got to drop this act." Which I was like, well, what was the point of that? You were better off training him as a ninja and then just go straight there and just infiltrate the base. Well, they would have came out eventually.
They had to show us that that Japan has technology to change your appearance.
I was not a big fan of that particular part of that. I think the first half was really good compared to the second half. But overall, I mean, it's still, compared to the Bond movies so far we watched, it's actually pretty good film regardless.
It is entertaining. It keeps a good pace. Mm-hmm. It's got good characters. It's not on my top 5, but I would recommend it to people.
Yeah.
It's different. They try to do more stuff. Blofeld's base in the volcano is very impressive set.
It was a very impressive set.
They have monorails running everywhere. It's huge.
I do question, though, in that volcano base, how fast they get those ships up in space. That is freaking fast work. I mean, that's incredible. He must got these guys from Goldfinger's crew because those people were working.
They use rocket bullet technology.
Spectre got that Spectre money.
That's right.
Regardless. But with overall thoughts and everything like that, I want to thank everybody for coming on and listening to our mission. Our next mission is quite interesting because Sean Connery's not going to be on this mission. Another actor will come and take Bond's mission spot as we go into, I believe, is Her Majesty. Secret Service.
On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Yeah, I believe that's the next one we go on our next mission on. I'm excited and not excited because one, I never seen the movie, so I'm excited to see what happens. But I'm not excited because there's a lot of information that a lot of people did not like about that particular film, and I don't want to call shots until I see it and then go back and come back and tell you all about it. But I'm excited because this is a Bond that's kind of like different,
right?
So, and just to let y'all know, definitely, if you like this episode and you would love to support this show, please spread the word about our show. Please go listen to our previous episodes. We talked about Thunderball, we talked about Goldfinger, we talked about From Russia with Love, and we talked about Dr. No. So go back and listen to those and hear our thoughts about that.
We also have an episode 0 giving our first impressions because it's been
and that's
years.
The one you should actually go first. Now I understand you want to jump, and you can actually. This is the cool about this show. You can jump anything, and you don't have to worry about it because these movies are not in a particular order where oh man, I don't know what happened to one before. No, they're all basically standalone missions. So you can hop these things. But episode 0 is a really good one because before going in, we had a set of top 5 of our favorite stuff. And by the halfway, we're going to be going back to look at that and see if this list stays the same or has changed on the way there. And so that's what I'm really excited about. Travis, anything you want to add before we go?
No, man, that's it.
And so, are you excited for
on Her Majesty's Secret Service? Like I said in episode 0, it's been a long time since I've seen a lot of these movies. So I'm,
and that's what's so exciting about it.
I know. I don't want to say anything. We'll do it. The next podcast, you guys will hear it, and we'll take it from there, man.
Yeah, and don't forget, you can listen to this show on Podbean. You can listen to this show on YouTube. You can listen to this show on iTunes. And with that, we will catch you on our next mission.
Ba-da.
Hi, and thank you so much for taking time to listen to the show that is part of the In-Game Boss program. Remember, you can always visit us on Facebook and Twitter to get the up-to-date news about what shows are premiering and whatnot. And also, you can always listen to our shows on iTunes, Podbean, and YouTube. And remember to follow and subscribe, leave a review and a 5-star rating to keep us going. And thank you so much.